So we're hearing a lot about HOAs. A lot of new construction in our area has HOAs. HOA stands for Homeowners Association. There's two different kinds of HOA. There is HOA, which is really Homeowners Association for single family homes and townhomes. And there's a whole lot of different set of rules for condos. So condo also have their own association. I know HOA gets intermixed with the single family home, the townhomes, and the condos, but condo rules are a little bit different, and we're going to do another video on condos just by itself. But today I want to explore Homeowners Association for single family homes and some townhomes that are classified as single family or have the same makeup of that. And we also want to explore HOA in new construction, because there's a lot of new construction being built. In today's market, it's favorable to go with new construction as opposed to non-new construction, since the builders are offering so many incentives, they're buying down the rates and all that great stuff. But in our area in Central Florida, I would say 80% in the Central Florida area, maybe even 90% of the new construction homes being built are going to be a part of the HOA. So what are they? A lot of people moving in from, like New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, they're not familiar with HOA, and they're like, well, do I really need to be in an HOA? Like, can I just buy the house and not be a part of that HOA, right? What is a HOA? Do we need to be in a community that offers HOA? Good question. So the Homeowners Association is a great way of maintaining a particular neighborhood. So when a developer or builder decide to build a particular community, they may want the community to be governed by certain rules and regulation. They may want certain paints on the exterior, certain roof color. If they're putting in an amenity, they may want people to follow certain rules when it comes to the amenity. So that's what a HOA is. It governs that particular development. So when the developer or builder decides to build, they're going to get an attorney, and the HOA attorney is going to develop these rules and regulations and docs for them that's going to govern the community. Now, these rules and regulations are going to be what the developer or the builder wants to happen. More than likely the developer, because they're developing the community. So what are some of these rules? These rules are going to be stuff like the paint color. Can you change your paint color? What's on the exterior? Everything is going to be governed by the exterior. There's going to be the grounds. Who is going to maintain landscaping on the grounds? If there's an amenity center, how is that amenity center going to be situated? Who's going to maintain that? And also the roof. Are we going to go with a certain roof color? That kind of stuff. So before you buy into a new construction development and there's going to be a HOA, these are the questions you want to ask. What is it going to be governed? Am I going to be able to paint the home whatever color I want, or is there going to be a color scheme I have to follow? The roofing. Some HOAs will also include stuff like Wi-Fi internet, streaming channels, and that kind of stuff. So these are the things we have to know ahead of time when we're buying into a HOA. For new construction, they're going to give you all the information up front. If if they're just building out the community, they're going to give you all the information up front. But you need to also find out a few other things that they might not tell you up front. Like, you need to find out how much, what they'll give you the monthly payment, but you need to know, is this going to increase once the community builds out? Because the way a HOA is created is all the expense for the maintenance of the community is put into this monthly dues. So in the beginning of the community, they're going to say, okay, they're going to do a case study, and they're going to find out how much is it going to be to really maintain this community. If the HOA includes landscaping, how much will the landscaping be? If we're going to offer a pool as part of the amenity, how much is it going to be to upkeep the pool and the gym and all that great stuff, the clubhouse, who's going to clean it? All of this they're going to put into consideration, and that's how they're going to come up with amount. So let's pretend you're buying into a community. Let's pretend they're going to have 50 homes in this community. So the community is going to have 50 homes, and they're going to create an HOA. So the HOA is going to say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and we're going to maintain everybody's landscaping. That's going to be a part of the HOA. We're going to give everyone high-speed internet, and we're also going to give everyone streaming channels. So we're going to need to find a cable company to deliver this to us. So they're going to go to a company and they're going to say, hey, we're building this community. We would like to offer the residents high-speed internet and streaming channels. What can you do? So they're going to go back and forth. They're going to come up with an amount. Now they're going to say, okay, we also want to put a pool, a gym, We want a basketball court, we want a kids play area, and we need a little clubhouse. How much is that going to cost to maintain? They're going to figure that out. So let's pretend they figure that everything that we just discussed is going to be $50,000 a month for this particular community with 50 homes. They're going to divide that $50,000 into 50, and that's going to be the monthly HOA fee. That's part of it, right? That's one part of it. You're like, what do you mean? The second part of it is going to be reserve. The community is going to need to have reserve, so if there's anything that happens, they could cover it. Like maybe it's an act of God, maybe it's a hurricane and it took some trees down, or maybe it messed up the pool, or maybe lightning struck the pool equipment and they have to replace it. So they're going to have reserves. Every HOA will have reserves. So a part of your monthly HOA dues is going to be the actual money it takes to maintain the community, and it's also going to be reserves. How much reserves do they need in case something happens? Now, the reserve doesn't mean it's going to cover every single thing that could happen, because let's say something happened that they didn't expect. Let's say something happened with the pool, and it was right after it came out of warranty, something happened with the pool, and the reserve can't cover that. Then they're going to go out and they're going to reassess, and they're going to need to figure out how much more money do they need now from all of the 50 people in this community that we're given the example of. How much money do they need to fix that problem that came up? Maybe something happened to the pool has a leak somewhere, and nobody knows where the leak came from, but now the pool doesn't have warranty anymore, because even though you're in a new community, let's say it's 5-7 years down the road, it came with a warranty, or the warranty doesn't cover that. So let's pretend it's $5,000. So $5,000 to detect the pool leak and to repair it, if that's the case. They're going to divide that $5,000 in among the 50 people that lives in the community. It's going to go out as a special assessment, because it's going to be a special thing that they need done. It's not going to be, once a pool is repaired, they don't need to keep collecting this money, right? So if it's not in the reserve, they're going to ask the homeowners to come up with this additional funds to solve that issue. So these are stuff you must find out before you go in the community. So since we're on new construction right now, for new construction, most of the stuff is probably not going to be not going to come up, because it's new and they're just building out the community. But you need to know what's going to happen if the reserve can't cover a certain fund. How is that going to be angled by the HOA board? Now, in the beginning of a new construction development, the developer or the builder is going to be control of the HOA. They're going to have control of the HOA because they're building homes, and all the homes are not built out as of yet. But once they get to a certain number of homes, they're going to turn over the HOA to the community itself. Most builders is going to wait until they're almost finished before they turn it over. When they turn it over, the community has to decide who's going to be their president, who's going to be the vice president, and who is going to be the CAM. Which company are they going to hire to do all the community activities, right? Because it's not going to be the HOA president. So you're going to hire a property management company to come in and manage the community, and that's going to be what they call their CAM, their CAM, right? The Community Association Manager. So this manager is going to come in, and they're going to be the one to talk to the landscaping company, make sure landscaping is being done on time, make sure people are paying their HOA dues. You're going to pay the HOA dues to the CAM, the property management company, and they, in return, they're going to have an account set up for that you pay into each month. And then they're going to also correspond with the board. So the president, the vice president, the treasurer, the secretary, and whichever officer is on there. The one thing I'm going to tell you, if you're on an HOA, make sure you go out to the meetings, because that's the most issues right there. If you're not going out to the meetings and you're not understanding what's going on in the community, and then they send a letter all of a sudden about something that you knew nothing about, that's what's going to upset you. So I always say go to the meetings, and whenever they have the board meetings, like each year, they have an annual general meeting where they vote in different officers. So if you don't like the officers on your board, it's the best time to go at that time to vote somebody in or vote somebody off. If you're not going to the meetings and voting, then the same people are going to be on the board all the time, right? Because they're going to be on there by default, because nobody's going to vote them on or off. And it's not a paid job. So most of the time, retired people who get this position. But if you're working, that's good too, because some HOA board have their meetings in the evenings, like at 6 p.m. when you're off from work. But these are some of the stuff you must understand when you're buying new construction. There's a HOA. But there's also a difference between HOA and CDD. It's two different things. A CDD is a community development assessment kind of fee. So how does a CDD come into play? A CDD comes into play when the builder or the developer is developing the community and they have to take a loan from the city to put in certain infrastructure, like the roads, like the underground utilities, maybe the light posts, maybe bringing in water into the community, bringing in sewage lines, all that stuff, right? They go to the town and they get a loan from the town to put this infrastructure stuff in. Instead of the builder or the developer paying back this loan, they pass it on to the homeowners. And these CDD are normally for 30 years. So if you bought into a new construction development now, and you have a CDD, it's going to take 30 years to pay it off. And they allocate it per homeowner. So if they took, in the example of the 50 homes in this community, let's say they borrowed $300,000, they're going to divide it into 50, and each person is going to have that CDD to pay off. Sometimes the CDD, they do it by the size of the home. Sometimes they just spread it across all the homeowners. But this is the stuff that you need to find out in the beginning. So if you're buying into a new community and they have HOA and CDD, you must find out what's going on, how much, why am I paying, the amount I'm paying, what is that? Is it because of the size home I have? Or is it everybody's paying the same amount, right? So that is how the developer and the builder is gonna situate that to figure out how they're gonna allocate that. And also, well, the rules and you need to know the rules and regulation of the HOA going in, especially when it's new, because they may not have that document. They're going to have documents, but some certain things may not be in the HOA in the beginning because they may have things as they go along. So you need to know if anything will be added as you go along. But I will say, living in the homeowners association, the property is going to be more maintained. They're going to have they govern the whole community, so you'll have. Your resale will be better because people can't come and just do what they want, right? Everything on the outside will be governed by the HOA. Now let's talk about if you're buying into a resale. If you're going into resale, you need to know if there's any special assessment. So let's pretend you're buying a home and the community is already developed, but it's a HOA, so you have to agree to be in this HOA. So you need to find if there's any special assessment going on. A special assessment is something the HOA is thinking of doing, but has not done yet. Sometimes people sell because they don't want to be a part of the special assessment, right? They're like, oh, they're going to bring this in and now I'm going to have to pay more money for the special assessment. I don't want to be a part of it. So you need to find out about the special assessment. You need to find out about any reserves. What does the reserve look like? Is it a LT budget? Does the HOA have a LT budget and a healthy reserve? You also want to find if there's any delinquency. Like how many people are not paying their HOA bills? Because the more people are not paying, the more it will affect you because somebody's going to have to make up for who is not paying, right? So you need to know if there's anybody that's not paying. You also want to take a look at the meeting minutes, right? So you want to find the last 12 months of meeting minutes, and you want to explore the meeting minutes when you're buying into a resale HOA community, because you want to look at the minutes to see if there's any special assessment, what is going on with the community, what are the delinquencies like, the minutes is going to reflect that kind of stuff, right? Is there anything that they're thinking of doing that's not yet done? Maybe they're thinking of redoing the clubhouse, and to redo the clubhouse, they have to do a special assessment. Each homeowner may have to put something more to, redo the clubhouse, repaint the clubhouse. Maybe they want to redo the sign outside. Maybe they had above ground utility, but now they want to take the utilities underground, especially for older communities. So you need to take a look at the minutes of the community you're buying in for resale. Another thing you need to do is there any special secret meetings? Because sometimes the board will meet for a special meeting because they're thinking of doing other stuff. Maybe they're thinking of bringing in cameras all around the community to see what's going on in the community. Maybe they're thinking of maybe the docs, the HOA documents that govern the community are coming out to expire and they want to redo the docs and stuff like that. So if there's any special meetings, you want to find that out. Now, when you're in new construction, you want to find out at what point does the developer or the builder goes away and the HOA is formed, and then there's the property management company is then being hired to govern the community. If you're in a 55 plus community, it's going to be super important if you're buying into a 55 plus community, because then you'll have more. You probably will have your landscaping taken care of. You're probably going to have a bigger amenity center because they're going to want to cater to people who are retired in the 55 plus community. They're also going to have a social director, and the social director is who kind of governs the activity that goes on daily or weekly in the community. Apart from the pickleball court, the tennis court, all that great stuff in the 55 plus community, they'll have a social director. Some regular residential communities do have a social director as well, so you want to figure that out. So the HOA, homeowners association, is going to be important. It helps you to maintain your property value. It helps to keep the community uniform, make sure people are cutting their grass, make sure there's no mechanic shop being opening right across the street from you or right next door to you. Because those are some of the stuff that the community will govern. You wonder if there's a reserve study. A reserve study is going to be, and this is going to be mostly for resale, it's going to be them saying, reserve studies them saying, do we have enough money in the reserve, or do we need to add more money in the reserve? You also need to find out if every year they're increasing the HOA dues. That may mean that they're not being efficient and really getting a figure of what it takes to run the community, like what it actually takes. You want to make sure whatever they're collecting is sufficient to run the community. Now, if they're doing a reserve study because they have a lot of excess reserve, they might be collecting too much dues. So maybe the amount of money they're collecting is not really necessary, and they could reduce the dues, right? And I've never seen a HOA reduce the dues. But if they need to reduce the dues, that might mean that you don't have to get an increase for a certain amount of years in that particular community. If the HOA also governs the gate, like it's a guarded community, they have a security guard, that's going to be a part of the HOA dues as well. And that's going to affect how much the HOA bill or due will be on a monthly basis. But you want to buy into a LT HOA where they're actually collecting the sufficient amount of money to run the community, and where they're also having an LT reserve. So if there's anything comes up, they could pay from the reserves, right? Also remember that the HOA due is going to be a part of the insurance. They're going to have insurance in the community as well. They're going to have insurance in the clubhouse and on various different equipment. That's going to be a part of your dues. Is the garbage collection a part of the HOA? If there is an emergency, what happens? Do they go to reserve first, then they come to you, or do they leave the reserve and come to the homeowners immediately? So this is all about HOA dues. By the way, thank you so much for listening. We're realtors. We would love, if you're thinking of buying a home and you need to get more details on the HOA, whether it be resale or new construction, we would love to help you, because we love to go and dig in the background of the HOA to find out what you're really buying and get you the information you need to make an educated decision. So whether it's resale or new construction, we would love for you to reach out to us. We do complimentary Zoom calls all the time. But if you're buying in a HOA community, these are the things that you must find out and know before you sign the dotted lines. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in the next video. We're going to do another one just on condos, because condos are a whole different entity than residential homes or townhomes. And I like to separate them so people understand the difference, because it's like in a condo, you're buying a part of the building. So you're a part of a big building, and that requires way more case studies and all kind of different things, especially because of what happened in South Florida the other day. So we'll do a separate video on that. But today's video was on residential home or townhomes. How does the HOA governs that? And why do I need to pay in a HOA if I have a single family home? And the reason for that is because they want to maintain a certain look in that community, and that's what you're buying into. I'll see you in the next video.